Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that you will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that you will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that you take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that you will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office on which you are about to enter, so help you God?
I do.
Well, that was both uplifting to see sister taking over the unfinished work of her brother, and of course, very sad because it does mean we've lost one of our great senators and one of our great friends. But it's wonderful to see that she gets a chance now to, in essence, reciprocate with Lindsay, who put aside a good deal of his life to take care of his sister, and now she's taking care of him to make sure that his work is continued. It's horrible that it happened this way because, sort of as I said, at the apex of his career or of the work that he had dedicated himself to, he has been a close supporter and friend of Israel and Ukraine for as long as I know him. And to see that he was planning on Sunday to go on the talk shows to talk about his trip that he had just finished to Ukraine and to get as much support as possible for a bill that would crack down on Russia even harder in terms of sanctions. And in order to really bolster the whole, given the successes that Ukraine is having on the battlefield, I think both he and President Zelensky, and I think President Trump shares this, have a feeling that, and not just a feeling, there's a real pretty solid body of evidence that shows that Iran has made it, and that Russia's got to lose, losing 8 times more soldiers than Ukraine, at a point where it's hard to get recruits, at a point where it's beginning to affect the Ukrainian people. They're beginning to see the war outside of St. Petersburg, 8 miles away from Moscow, in the Urals, deep into just about Asian Russia. The capacity of Ukrainians to utilize these drones is really remarkable. And a good deal of our defense industry and the meeting they had today, the summit they had today, has to do with how our defense, what we call, I guess, a military industrial complex, has to, first of all, streamline itself. That means there can't just be 1 or 2 or 3 main players. It's got to be a real active competition with big business, medium-sized business, and small business participating, because very often it's the small and medium sized businesses that do the innovating, and then you're the one that falls behind, the way Russia did to the Ukrainian drone. Then they work with Iran and China and developed a Shahed drone, which was quite effective for a while, set Ukraine back. Ukraine is now, uh, called like Impuka called and raised with drones that are even more effective. And we're getting the benefit of that in trying to get a head start in our drone building. These are the things they were discussing at the summit today. These are the things that Pete Hegseth and the brass and the military are focusing on, which is a whole new way of our military industry operating. Much more streamlined, much more every discipline in America utilized where necessary, every discipline being asked to think of how they can contribute. It's the only way in which we can be able to keep up with what's going to be necessary to protect our freedom. So it's a shame that this is the way we learn, but isn't it the way we learn? We learn about war by being at war. And one of the things that makes us so effective, tragically, is all the experience we have with it. Right now, our biggest threat, right, is China. As far as I know, China doesn't have a single general that's ever seen any appreciable action. Just think of how many generals we have that have seen action. And no matter how smart they are, no matter how cunning or terrific, it's like any other complex profession. By doing it, you learn it, not by thinking about it. Well, let's bring you up to date on some things that you're probably not going to get anywhere else, which is what we like to feature before we go back to the big story of Iran and Ukraine. This is really absolutely terrible. But the governor of New York, Hochul, Kathy Hochul, has put a temporary ban on building large new data centers, and this is going on in other parts of America as well. And people are really frightened that these big giant data centers are going to use up land and mostly use up electricity and drive up the cost of electricity, particularly like in New York. Now, this is so hypocritical because the reason that electricity is so expensive in New York, well, right now, is not because there are no data centers to speak of. It's because of the insane government that Democrats now provide where they get a chance to govern. New York has an energy crisis because they did away with nuclear power. Indian Point nuclear power plant supplied New York City with 20 to 25% of its power. It's gone. Governor Cuomo, who used to be opposed to giving up Indian Point, finally succumbed because of his ambitions to the crazy left. It seems like a fairly modest cave-in comparison to what they do now, cave-in to Nazis and communists and supporters of Hamas, and who was just the subject of a UN report. So maybe people will believe it, huh? Of what the administration has been saying for 2 years, which is that Hamas steals the food and medicines intended for the people of Palestine. And they don't just steal it, they steal it in the millions and millions and millions of dollars worth. And it's a major kind of organized crime type of racket they have going on there. So it's not very hard to see that a good deal of the propaganda about data centers, trying to get people hysterical about them, is coming out of China, funded by China. Questions about, is it going to ruin the neighborhood? Is it going to drive up your electric bills? Is it going to take away agricultural land? Here's the simple fact. We don't have a choice unless you want to become a second or third rate power. They now want to compound the damage they did to us with their green movement. That is destroying Europe, destroying this place. I mean, I had a distinct feeling, now this is my second trip in about a month to Europe. France was no different than Italy. The airport was terrible, terrible. They don't even bring you up to the terminal. They're still having you get out, in the middle of the runway. The airports are chaotic. The per capita income of these people here, I mean, the middle class is totally defined differently. Lowest income per person is doing better than most of Italy, France, now Germany. And you can see it's deteriorating. You can see it's dirtier. It's I love cities and I really know cities. And I can go to a city in about 10 minutes, I can tell you how it's doing. Rome is not doing well. Doing better than Paris. Doing better than London. But maybe a few years behind them. Not as big a Muslim problem as France and England. No, not as big. But their own problems. So these data centers are necessary if we are going to remain the strongest power on earth. China is doing everything they can to get ahead of us on this, including getting our people turned off to data centers so that they monopolize it. And I don't know if Hochul doesn't care or she's just too stupid to know that the Chinese are using her. And this is similar as several of the observers of New York, the Post and the Wall Street Journal. This is very similar to not allowing fracking in New York when it is allowed in Pennsylvania, done by a Democrat regime in Pennsylvania, and people in Pennsylvania are making a fortune with it. And upstate New York are just not benefiting from the tremendous bounce that has happened to our economy. And fracking would be the answer. It would be the answer to our shortages. It also would be an answer to the broken down nature of a lot of the old cities of what we like to call upstate New York. Now, New York's left-wing ideology is destroying New York. Here's an example, and it's one that I have been vocal about this for 50 years, long before they legalized cannabis, and this movement to legalize drugs has been going on forever and ever. And I point out, if we have a lot of drug use now, before legal, as soon as you go to legal, there's going to be more drug use, and organized crime is going to make even more money because they're going to have a really active and vital black market. Well, that's happened in New York. New York went to first recreational drugs, medical use, then recreational use. Now, a guide was put out. A guide was put out from New York. This is a guide from the state of New York warning about the negatives of smoking or ingesting marijuana or involuntarily getting it, like a child, a baby. You're in a one-bedroom apartment, a studio apartment, everybody's smoking weed. The kid's got a little teeny brain that's just beginning to develop and is very, very vulnerable to the damage that marijuana can do. So vulnerable that they've actually come up with a new diagnosis of a disease, mostly affects people 25 or younger, because the brain doesn't really fully develop until at least about 25 years old. So the cells are much more susceptible to interruption, destruction. So, according to the New York Office of Cannabis Management, this is a quote: anyone who uses cannabis frequently over time is at risk for developing cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome. What's that? It's a medical condition that causes serious abdominal pain, persistent nausea, repeated vomiting, and that very often it ends up with people having to go to the emergency room and treatment for quite some time that leaves you sort of permanently down. Now, of even more concern than that is there's no doubt from all of these studies, and there have been so many lately, they all came out after the big ridiculous nonsense about medical marijuana, plenty of other things you can use other than marijuana. What an excuse that was. And now recreational use. All these studies come out now about how dangerous marijuana is, cannabis is to the brain, particularly the developing brain. It attacks the brain more than, or affects the brain more than the other drugs and alcohols. Not that they're good, but cannabis deteriorates the cells of the brain, certain cells, very quickly. But if you want to just see the impact with just one statistic, since 2016, when this whole craze of legalizing drugs came on, the number of hospital visits involving cannabis for children under 5 has gone up 1,600%. Double, triple, quadruple, under 5. So what is that? That's that. The kids aren't smoking weed. The 3-year-old isn't smoking weed. The 3-year-old is in a house in which mommy and a boyfriend, or daddy and his girlfriend, or whatever else, are smoking away. And the kid might as well be smoking. The kid is inhaling it. He's getting into the kid's brain. And unlike the two adults, the brain hasn't formed yet. Although you wonder how much people smoking with a kid around, smoking dope with the kid around, you wonder how their brain has developed at all. So I don't know. Can you turn the clock back, Ted? Are you there? We'll see if we can get Ted in on this.
I'm here, Mayor. Sorry, I'm getting my camera worked out. Just wanted to give you a quick update.
Well, I'm
Can
going
you
to
hear
ask
me?
you a question, but go ahead. Give me the
Oh, go
update.
ahead. Go ahead. You go first. You go first.
So what I'm talking about is this report from New York State, of all places, about the danger of weed, and that particularly for for youngsters, 25 and under, because the brain is still developing, and it can really seriously hurt the development of the brain. Uh, what are the chances we're going to turn back the clock on this? Seemed like
That's
there was some chance. Seemed like there was some chance to do that a few years ago when Oregon was going to modify the laws somewhat because they're having so many traffic accidents. But here we're 5 or under, going to the
yeah,
emergency room 1,600% more with uh, being under the influence of cannabis.
right. I think this is just another example of how our culture has descended into degeneracy in a lot of ways, where this sort of thing, it's minimized, right? The damage caused has been minimized throughout, not just by our elected leaders, by pop culture, the way they've kind of portrayed marijuana, not necessarily as something you should do, but they portray it as harmless. People that do it are just become lazy. When in reality, like as you mentioned, a lot of the stuff you see out there today is much more potent, and you are seeing a lot of cases of psychosis and a lot of these mental inflictions. And so, when you have a culture that's accepting this for adults, that's it's only going to bleed down to the young ones. And of course, you're a parent. You're someone who raised two outstanding now adults. And so, is this something where the parents, at the end of the day, Mayor, need to stay on top of things with
Yeah,
their
they shouldn't
kids,
smoke dope around their
because we have
3-year-old.
a culture where it's in their face now, right? In a lot of these states where you can you or I could walk into a store and buy this stuff, the same
Yeah, yeah. I
as
mean,
if we were
there are
buying a soda.
places, the state of Oregon, the state of Washington, you get the feeling that everybody's walking around in a daze because it's in the air
That's
and it
right.
can affect you if it's in the air. So tell us about the World Cup. What's going on?
That's right. So Argentina was down late against England, 1-0 in the 84th minute. They came back, tied it up. And then England appeared to start playing not to lose, right? And sports fans will know what we mean by that. They started backing their players up. Argentina took advantage of that and scored a second goal. So they scored twice within about between the 84th minute and soccer time, and they won it. So they won it 2-1. It didn't go to extra time. There had to be no shootout. Messi with a big assist on both goals. So the final on Saturday in New York, well, technically in New Jersey, that will be between Argentina and Spain, which of course they were two of the favorites to win this. Of course, France being the other, and England was also one of the top four. But this should be quite the
Yeah,
finish. But of course, France and
England was
England, well,
favored in
France
this.
was favored in this game. England
England
was
was
favored.
favored in this match. England was
Okay.
favored in this match. No, France was favored to win. To win, but
So now, yeah, right. So
uh,
now the final will be Argentina and Spain. That'll be on Saturday. Hey, there's an outside chance I'll be watching it with you, but let's see.
all right. If we watch it here, wow, probably
Wouldn't
be
that be
all over
cool?
the place if we watch it.
Right. So let's
Be
pay the
all over.
bills.
I mean, they love soccer
I
here,
was suggest right. They love it. Italy didn't even make the World Cup this year. Did you talk to anybody about that?
which is really like an embarrassment. It's like an embarrassment
Yeah.
for people. People
So
remember that last week we I move on to the subject about the Smithsonian. We pointed
yes,
out a report that the president was the Smithsonian, and particularly the Smithsonian Museum spends all its time with the impression we never won any world wars, we never had a civil war to freedom, we did a Declaration of Independence or a Constitution, we never took more than any, and never as successful as ours. None of that would be known by by going to any of these museums, which paints us as a country defined by slavery. The person, on top of all this, and is being now by a committee of the House Chair Tim Burchett, and trying to find out how far to go into history and what can be done to stop it. So,
Right.
now.
Well, Mayor, let's take a quick break and pay the bills and come right back. Does that work?
I think I'll do that anyway. The guy, the Carl Ephraim McDaniel is the 65-year-old man who was 10 feet into the air by a bull Yellowstone, and he had some very serious injuries, although not his life. The photos that we see, he was in good spirits when he woke up, and all he was concerned about was, did I do anything to provoke the animal? I mean, at Park Service, I killed the animal. I'm not going to use it. Asia, a little more compound or a little more smell and something. I would McDaniel be in favor of that. You know, he told the photographer that he said, did I do anything to
Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because they like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're going to go into the roaster, and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee.
Are you ready for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal. 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month,
Wow.
including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news,
Wow.
even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax,
Wow.
channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly,
Wow.
where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get yours today. Use promo code RUDY. Act fast. These deals are selling out.
U.S. Army Major Scott Smiley paid a high price serving our nation. Scott was leading his platoon in Iraq when a blast sent shrapnel through his eyes, leaving him blind and temporarily paralyzed. Scott would become the first blind active duty military officer before medically retiring years later.
Thanks to friends like you, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation gave Scott and his family a mortgage-free, specially adapted smart home. Show your support for America's heroes now. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because they like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're going to go into the roaster and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee.
Are you ready for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal. 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month,
Wow.
including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news,
Wow.
even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax,
Wow.
channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly,
Wow.
where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get yours today. Use promo code RUDY. Act fast. These deals are selling out.
U.S. Army Major Scott Smiley paid a high price serving our nation. Scott was leading his platoon in Iraq when a blast sent shrapnel through his eyes, leaving him blind and temporarily paralyzed. Scott would become the first blind active duty military officer before medically retiring years later. Thanks to friends like you, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation gave Scott and his family a mortgage-free, specially adapted smart home. Show your support for America's heroes now. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. U.S. Army Major Scott Smiley paid a high price serving our nation. Scott was leading his platoon in Iraq when a blast sent shrapnel through his eyes, leaving him blind and temporarily paralyzed. Scott would become the first blind active duty military officer before medically retiring years later. Thanks to friends like you, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation gave Scott and his family a mortgage-free, specially adapted smart home. Show your support for America's heroes now. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org.
Are you ready for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal. 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month,
Wow.
including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news,
Wow.
even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax,
Wow.
channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost. cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly, where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get yours today. Use promo code Rudy. Act fast. These deals are selling out.
And Mayor, we're back on. We fixed some of the internet delays. Of course, we're doing this from thousands of miles apart, and we're going to get right into it. We have a special guest who received a very special endorsement today. He's a very good friend of yours and the whole show. I'll leave the rest to you guys. The great, the one and only Mike Lindell.
Well, hello, Mayor. How you doing? I'm not hearing him, Ted. But anyway, what he's
Maria?
Oh, there you go. Now I can hear you, Mayor.
Maria.
Well, thank you, Mike, for joining us.
I'm
We're
not
having
able-
some issues here with the mayor. He's, of course, traveling
On or not?
on the other side of the
Okay.
world. But, of
But
course, you received a big endorsement today.
not able to
we
hear
just wanted
anything.
to give you a moment to talk
I'm not
to our
able to hear
audience
anything.
and let
And he
everyone know
has
what
me
this
on.
means, getting the support of President Trump, of
Right.
course, in your big race for as the next governor of the great state of Minnesota.
Yeah, it was great, Ted. I got here at my corporation early this morning, my company here, and about
still
5
hear
o'clock. And a couple hours later, I'm getting texts from everyone going, Mike, the president just endorsed you. And I'm going, wow, this is awesome. And by the way, he did it kind of twice
on?
today. He did it twice on True Social, everybody. But
Just lazy.
it's been a pretty long day. Every media outlet, of course, other than Fox News and Newsmax, have reached out to talk about my great endorsement, and but all the other outlets have been reporting it. And Ted, they asked me, they go, why did you wait so long? No,
Yeah.
you know what? This
Get-
is perfect
Am I
timing.
on?
When I
Yeah,
ran
Mike's
in
talking.
December, when I announced a couple days before, the only one
Okay,
that
all
knew
right.
that
Keep-
for
keep
sure
on
was my
talking.
wife.
I'm
And then I
gonna
called the
reconnect it.
president, and I didn't
Good.
ask him for his endorsement,
Stop
everybody.
again.
What I
So
did
you can
is I
slow.
said, I'm running, sir. I didn't want to hear about it in the news.
You know
And
what?
he encouraged
It's him
me,
on his
said
side.
hey, when I
I
came
don't know
down
where
that
he is, but it's him
escalator,
on his side.
and
He was breaking
just
up with me.
encouraged me. Like, I thought it was great. And it was good words of encouragement, and how, I don't quit, and how I'm being a businessman, know everything, the problem solution, be able to fix these things here. But I wanted him to endorse me based on merit, not on our
It's very
friendship.
powerful.
Okay,
And-
then keep it there.
And what perfect timing, Ted. We're
I have to
here.
connect.
Okay.
He endorsed me the day before
I think it's
the
him.
big news, the big declassification of all the evidence, or hopefully a lot of it, of the 2020 election. And so, and when this came out, all the news that I just got off with the local media here, and they're doing a hit job on me. They're asking questions. Well, Donald Trump, he's only pulling this in Minnesota, or they're attacking me, going, you owe taxes, some property taxes. I'm going, yeah, well, Minnesota wasn't real affordable last year, so yeah, I did owe some property taxes. So, just a tax, instead of saying, hey, Mike, you got the president's endorsement, tell us what this means. How's it going to, what are you going to do for Minnesota? What does this do to the polls? By the way, everybody, this puts me in first place by over 30 points for the primary, which we're already into. People are already voting, and the primary is August 11th. If you guys want to help out, you go to lindellgov.com. But Ted, I don't know if you've seen what happened a couple of hours ago. The Minnesota GOP chairman, Alex Pleklish, or whatever his last name is, he put on their own website in Minnesota just bashing me as a candidate. I don't know if you've seen that.
I didn't see that, Mike, but we're not surprised. We're going to try to see if we can't get the mayor back on here briefly. But wow, what a great endorsement. Of course, we're not surprised by that. You and the president have been long time
guys, the uniparty, the establishment, you need a different input to get a different output. So I'm very excited. And it's the media, it don't surprise me. Just attack.
The mayor there. Mayor, can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Mike,
we can.
Can you hear Mike?
I was
Hello.
hearing him before. No, I can't.
Hello.
Okay.
Testing. Can you hear me now, Mayor?
Why don't you conduct the interview and then try to connect me up after Mike? All right.
Okay, so the mayor, of course, is live in Italy, right outside of Rome, and so he'll be with us. We'll finish the show with him, but we're having issues with the two-way communication. But we wanted to make sure we had Mike on, our good friend, a good friend of the show, of course, founder and CEO of My Pillow, but also the Lindell TV network, which is the fastest-growing network in America. I mean, my goodness, the coverage that they get on Capitol Hill, the White House, from the Pentagon, all over DC, and the coverage that they'll give you is unlike anything you'll get anywhere else, anywhere, not just in America, but the world. And of course, Mike, now candidate and presumed frontrunner, Republican frontrunner for the governor of the great state of Minnesota, the land of 10,000 lakes, and the home to, well, the current governor, of course, has been causing a lot of problems across across the country, Mike. But we would just like to know more about your plans and tell our audience, right? A lot of our audience, unfortunately, doesn't live in the great state of Minnesota. Why should they take interest in this race? And why should they care?
And donate, everybody. LindellGov.com. We really need your help. Here's why. Minnesota is what could happen to your state, okay? The solutions that I'm going to bring in, and you're going to all see my budget in a couple weeks, but this fraud that's in Minnesota, this isn't just a Minnesota problem. It's nationwide. But let's just take the fraud out of the picture. What do all of our taxes go to? How do some states have no income tax, no sales tax? Some have low property tax or no property tax. How is this? Everything's different, okay? Well, there's a reason for that. Is it all comes down to our welfare programs, which are getting frauded in Minnesota. But if you take them out of the picture, and then also our NGOs that are in every state, and these things, if they're in Minnesota, we were Minnesota nice, so it's just like, oh yeah, we'll cover that. But you got to look into these things and see, you know what, are these? Do you get a good return on your investment? Does this really help people? Is this needed? You've got to streamline them like a business. And this is what's been going on where it hasn't been done by politicians. And when I say run like a business, this isn't a corporation business. This is like an entrepreneur-led business like I have with My Pillow. If you have problems and you're looking every day and you're looking at numbers and deviations, this is what I do every day in my business. And you see something, you don't wait till the third quarter report just came out. We're missing $3 billion in Sector 3. We better reduce this over here to do this. No, you answer it in real time. There's $3 billion. Wait a minute, there's $20 billion missing. We're going to find out today. And I'll tell you, as Minnesota, there's another deeper thing in Minnesota, Ted. Sharia law's got to be banned. We got to stop the Muslim invasion here that's practicing Islam in the United States. It's coming to your town, everybody out there. We need to stop these things now. Minnesota's the tip of the spear for this. Okay, we have our downtown Minneapolis. We have buildings that were worth $60 million are now going for $6 million. The cities are getting empty. All these cities, there was a gal in Portland the other day. She says, I'm here in the safest city in the world. And she goes, that's because there's nobody here anymore, you know? And, so.
Isn't that sad?
Yeah, it is.
Speaking of the cities, Mike, and just one more question. We know you're getting hit up from everybody. You've been all over the news today. And I've heard you and the mayor talk about this, and you've talked about it. When you're elected governor, you're gonna employ some of the mayor's tactics and what he did to clean up New York City, correct? And I've heard you talk with the mayor about it countless times.
Absolutely.
The different things.
There's two different things I'm going to be doing, and one of them, you guys will save 40% with these welfare programs using private sector money. A platform I set up years ago, my foundation, and this has already been tested in Minneapolis, St. Paul, Detroit, Rochester, Minnesota, and St. Cloud. So this is a prototype that works. But you combine that with what our great mayor did, America's mayor, when he cleaned up New York and made it the safest city in the world. Well, I'm going to use that. Hey, Mayor, we've talked about it many times. This is a
the welfare to
plug-in
work program. You're talking about welfare, the
yeah,
welfare
yeah.
to work program. You did it before
make,
anybody.
Yeah, you make the city safe. Obviously, put the precinct right in the middle of Times Square, but you got to make the city safe again so people are safe. But one of the things that really interesting, Ted, is he cleaned up the city, physically cleaned it up, but he also you made panhandling illegal. And one of the things I was really impressed with was in New York, everybody, you can all relate to this, the windshield wipers that wipe your windshields and then sit there with their hand out, right? You don't see them in New York anymore. He made it illegal. So, and I don't know, we make it illegal, arresting them all the first day or whatever happened going back in time. But you hired them. You hired these people to clean up New York. You provided jobs with people that were causing problems. And I've heard the traffic in New York increased by like 30%. So you could actually move because you don't have one car up there getting his windshield wiped, right? So when I've had many conversations with the mayor, you just use things that work. This is a businessman's approach, Ted. A businessman approach. You find out things that have worked out there, concept that have worked. The mayor came up with something before his time. I think this was before the time he was doing this stuff and securing cities and making cities safe before they even thought of making cities safe.
Well, nothing from me. We got the mayor himself on to
Can
talk
you hear me
about
now?
with you, Mike.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yes, we can. Yeah.
Mike, congratulations, first of all, on getting the president's endorsement.
Yeah, thank you. And that meant, I was just saying earlier, that meant it's so much knowing that it's based on merit right now and that I'm running a great campaign. We're in first place without his endorsement, and knowing that I'm getting on merit, not just on our friendship, which I probably could have asked him last December, but I didn't ask him for his endorsement. I said, I wanted to be endorsed. I wanted the people of Minnesota to know I'm all in. And I'm leading in the polls without his endorsement. Now it's like, boom, 30%.
How much, you were ahead by about 20 or 25, right?
No. Here's the exact poll, the numbers. They did 2 polls in the last couple weeks, and I was ahead of Lisa Damath by about 5 points, and then Kendall Qualls by about 7 or 8, or maybe even more, about 10. Now and then the next poll came out and I increased to 7%. I'm up by 7% over Lisa Damath. And then
where did I hear 20?
Well, now it's way over 20 with the president endorsement.
Oh, okay. So I have it confused. I thought that was before the endorsement.
Now it's like 25. I think I'm 42. The next poll is 17. So, it's pretty much the primary, but I'm not going to give up. And I'm just, it's such a blessing now because now, to be able to we've already raised more money than all the other candidates combined, but to be able to now to get the resources here to continue on what I'm already doing. I put out over 4,000 yard signs, and we've got 20,000 allotted that we keep buying, getting them out as fast as we can everywhere. And then billboards, and we're going, and this isn't counting the radio, TV. I do know a little bit about marketing. Just bring the resources in, and we're going to get it marketed.
Wow. Yeah. You basically have been running a general election from the beginning, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
You do focus a little on it, but look, it's the same themes, right? It's the same themes.
Right. Well, here's what happened. I don't know if you know this, Mayor, but the GOP, the Minnesota GOP, they would not let me go to the debates. They wouldn't let me go to the these forums. And then when we got up to the convention, I didn't get enough votes, and I was out. I was a 3rd place finisher, but their machines went down. Their voting machines. What a concept! And they wouldn't use paper ballots, hand counted. So so now both these candidates end up running because they had machine problems, and now
machine problems.
Yeah, voting machine problems.
In a race with you, they had machine problems.
Yeah, they had machine. Go figure, right?
Oh man. I wouldn't want to be in a race with you with machine problems. Nobody knows more about it than you do, right?
That's right. But then our own Minnesota GOP, after the president's endorsement today, did a hit job on me and said, Mike Lindell's unelectable, and they went after me. This is our chairman of the Minnesota GOP. Shame on you, Alex. We've been running Minnesota has been blue since 1972. Your little politics that of your little GOP here, your establishment, your uniparty that hasn't won since in 24 years at the governor level. You know, and they're not going to win again. They wouldn't have a chance against her. I'm going to win this. I have the name. We can get the resources here. I can do a lot for the Republican Party, but these guys are pushing back. What they did, even our news outlet here, Alpha News, which is our conservative news here, last week they put a thing out. Kendall Qualls and Lisa Damath, the other two candidates there. Lisa Damath will not have a debate with Kendall Qualls. They didn't even mention I was running for governor. I mean, you know.
So how do you? So tell me now. Let's talk about before the president endorsed you. So the GOP has really run a campaign against you.
100%. We've been.
But you were winning. You were winning before the president's endorsement.
By 7%. The polls go back all the way to last summer. I've been number one in every single poll in Minnesota with the people. Not the delegation or little GOP straw polls. With the people, I've been number one, and it keeps growing. That was without the president's endorsement. Incidentally, my lieutenant governor pick, they bashed him today too on the Minnesota GOP, and we don't know enough. We don't know enough about the Minnesota or the lieutenant governor. There's unanswered questions. Well, they didn't allow him to go to any debates either.
That's why they don't know about.
That's why they don't know. But he's been around for quite a few years. He's a former naval intelligence officer for decades, and he knows more about investigating these things. So that's what I'm going to do with him. We're going to have a Minnesota Doge, and I'm telling you, he's going to go after these fraudsters, and he's going to call them out, and we're going to
Mike, you know. I became mayor after a situation like the city was terrible. We had 2,000 plus murders. We had a $4 billion gap in our budget.
Yeah.
We were in bankruptcy. You'll be able to. That's the best time to take over.
Yeah.
Because they'll feel your changes right away. They'll feel your changes.
Yep,
you know. There's a big thing going on in New York now. Mondami will not clean up the homeless encampments.
Wow.
Not even taking them off the street. The encampment, they're setting up little cities under the bridges.
Wow, it's disgusting.
And he won't clean it up. That was a lot of work. That was 4 years of hard work that he's undoing.
Right.
We went to every encampment, and we brought in the requisite number of police and health officials, and we just got them all out of there.
Right.
And homelessness, you'll affect homelessness in 3 months, 2 months, 3 months,
Right.
and you'll start helping people.
Right, and then start helping people. This was
Start
my
helping
wheelhouse.
people instead of letting them die in the encampment.
Let them die. This is my wheelhouse, and that's why this Alex with the GOP, Mike's not electable. What does he know about this? Well, when I came out of addiction, I spent the next.
You were homeless.
Yeah, exactly. But, straight to Minneapolis. I've been homeless, but I've had 12 years after I came out of that, by the grace of God, helping people in Minneapolis, St. Paul, probably upwards of $10 million going to help the homeless, helping people with addiction to get the right help they needed. Your teen challenges and your Salvation Army, using that model. And I use private sector. That was using private sector.
I can't wait.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you.
You see that enthusiasm alone that you have.
Well, I'm going to ask you later. I want to ask you again. I know this is your show, but I'm going to ask you something here. When you did this in New York, now my plan is, I've got this other politician, this Kendall goes, I'm going to give you a $9 billion rebate, and we're going, well, how are you going to do that? We're already in the hole here in Minnesota. How are you going to grab $9 billion and give it back to the citizen? My point is I have been since December working on my budget. Now, when you went into New York, were you prepared when you took over? You had everything laid out, right? Kind of like the president did in his second term now.
Yeah,
I want to have everything ready to go. I want to have it all ready to go and show the people, here's how I'm going to fulfill my promises, right?
I had a book. I lost the first time.
Yeah.
And I decided to run again about 2 years before. And then I spent I spent every bit of time I could putting together my plan,
Right.
and I had an assistant who helped me with it. We literally had a playbook.
Right. Well,
What we were going to do. Now we changed it a little. We changed it.
right.
Like
What's
we
the
thought the deficit was a little under $1 billion. It turned out to be $4 billion.
Wow. You got to make a few changes.
Four times more.
But I want to ask you that. So did you advertise your plan then as you were running? Because it was a big advantage that you had your playbook ready where the media could say, hey, what are you going to do? How are you going to do this? And back then, since you set a lot of precedents for the country, you said a lot of things that hadn't been done before. I hate to tell you that, but I mean, you had a lot of work ahead of you, and you had to get people to believe. But like you say, it was so bad in New York then, just like in Minnesota, the shape it was in was an opportunity for you that people had to trust your solutions. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And
right.
we put out position papers, and they would pay no attention to it.
Right.
They didn't even have the audacity to say we weren't being specific enough.
Right.
We weren't being specific enough about. We put out a whole program on what to do about abused women and how to deal with it. Put out a big position paper on it. And they would say, well, he hasn't dealt with it specifically. We put out about a 30, 40-page report. I said, you don't bother to read it.
Right.
But the reality is, when we got in, what turned it is when they started to see improvements in their life.
Yeah.
Like their neighborhood got a little cleaner.
Yeah.
The homeless people they used to
You
see on
brought
the
them
street.
hope. You brought them hope. They seen that hope and you walked through it. Yep.
And it's terrible the condition that your state is. I bet there's so much money to work with in Minnesota that they would steal it.
Right. You take the fraud out, I think it's upwards of 20 billion. But for me in Minnesota, there's like 30 welfare programs, major ones, and over 400 NGOs. They've got to be looked into. They just have a failed one we're going through right now that's already in debt. It's cost them double what they projected, and now they got to go back and tax everybody in Minnesota again. And we're the highest in almost every category: corporate tax, income tax, property tax, sales tax. But you got to look where you can say, well, we're going to lower your taxes. Well, how are you going to do that? I'm going to look into all these programs and either streamline them or some maybe got to go. Some either got to go. Do you get a good return on your investment? I mean, you get to the root of the problem. If I'm going into Minneapolis and I'm going into these homeless encampments, I'm going to put money, tax dollars in programs for addiction that works. Your Teen Challenges, your Salvation Army. Do you know in Minnesota once when I was involved with all that, Teen Challenge, we said, hey, our short-term programs, they work 85%. The faith-based centers have an 85% success rate versus 5% in the secular market. Well, when we went to do this, we wanted to expand Teen Challenge here in Minneapolis, and we asked the state, would have been the best money they ever spent. Well, we'll give you money, but you can't talk about God. That's the provision they put on, the condition they put on. Well, of course, it's not going to work if you don't have God in the picture when you're getting treated.
You can't talk about God.
Don't talk about God. They put that in as a restriction. Of course, then the failure rate just drops like a rock. So my point is you got your Teen Challenge, your Salvation Armies, and your Union Gospels of the world. I've vetted over 3,000 individual agencies across our country, and all of them in Minnesota, that actually get the best help you can get for people in addiction. And I'm telling you, they can expand horizontally like crazy. They can handle anyone in those streets in addiction. And then we've got, I was with Ben Carson when the idea they had down in LA, which LA even agreed to do with the homeless, get them separated. And the presidency even said, bring back the mental institutions. We have a lot of people in the streets that need help, that they haven't got help in decades because of the movie One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, when they said everybody, and we got to shut down these institutions and send these people back to their families.
What a terrible mistake.
They went to the streets, and now there's over 50 million in the streets. So we've got to get them the right help, and I think that's one of the easiest things. And and to get these people the right help, and you'll save millions and millions and billions of dollars in these
It'll work.
programs.
It'll work much faster and better than you think. These are all logical solutions.
Yeah, common sense.
And some take a little longer than others, but they usually work a lot better than you even think.
Yeah, right.
You know, so
well, yeah, it's coming from the best right there. And the media was attacking me today about my relationship with the president and all these other and all the other
what could be
governors.
wrong with having a relationship with the president if you're a governor?
Yeah,
What a
isn't
bunch of
that
idiots.
crazy?
Maybe you'll get a little extra help.
To be able to pick up the phone when you need help. Or I told him, I said, all my governors I made friends with, the list is, and the attorney generals around the country, and having the best mayor the country's ever had, to be able to pick up a phone and say, hey, have you ever went through this problem before? It's like in a business. It's just like being a business. If I have problems in my business, or anybody out there, my advice is go see someone in a like business and see if they've faced that problem before. And if they've done, that's common sense for being a businessman. And
God forbid you should have common sense.
The perfect example is our education here in Minnesota. We went from like top 5 in the nation. We spent 29% more money. And during that time period, we went in the bottom third. And I'm going, well, what happened? How do we fix that? Well, there's 50 other states. It didn't take me long to look at the states and say, did any other state do that in reverse? Well, it was Mississippi was last in the nation in 2014. And then a couple of years later, they went up to like number 35. Now they're in the teens. And all you got to do is go, hey, what did you do, Mississippi? Which I did. Here it is on a platter. You just plug that in. And how can you argue with
100%.
success and with the prototype that worked and proof of concept? You have the best proof of concept in this country, how you can change a city, and I think most of them, from the worst to the first, and you did it in a short period of time.
You see, and nothing is preventing you from doing the things that you want to do because you're not a crooked Democrat.
Right.
No, seriously. New York City has its own hospital system. We have 13 major hospitals. 20% of the people in hospital beds are in New York City hospital beds. We were employing 4,000 or 5,000 more people than we needed. You know why? Some Democratic mayor 30 or 40 years ago gave it away to the Democratic congressman as patronage. So Charlie Rangel owned Harlem Hospital. Right. They were more interested in hiring his political idiots than doctors.
Wow.
Hospital. We had a hospital that used to have 1,000 beds. It was down to 300. We still had employees for 1,000 beds. They were taking care of empty beds.
Right.
But they were all put there by Democratic congressmen. So even a good Democratic mayor, if there is such a thing, would come in and he'd be stopped from doing that.
Right.
He'd come in with a great idea and they'd say, no, the Congress will kill you if you do that. Right. When I was told that, I said, they're going to kill me anyway. I don't give a damn. I fired them all.
That's good. I'm looking at all the commissioners. I don't think there's any I want to save in Minnesota or keep anyway. I'm serious. We're looking into each one, their track record. But, one of the things they said to me, Mayor, is, Mike, this is the media today because there's been hit jobs all day long. In fact, I just had to get off of the Star and Tribune. I said, just finish your hit job. They're asking me about, instead of talking to me about this great endorsement, they bring up the cure that I had for the virus, the supplement I had how many years ago. And Mike, you spent $10 million and now you're going to use that $5 million deduction for, I lost $10 million trying to save the country. I think I should be able to take the business deduction, but they're doing that. I said, what a waste of my time. But anyway, what I was getting at was when I told this, I think it was also the Star and Tribune, the worst paper in the country. I said, you guys, Mike, you're not going to get anything done. Both sides, they're not going to agree with an outsider. Well, here's the thing. When you bring in common sense solutions, okay, and I get blocked by either a Republican or a Democrat, if they're blocking a solution that's going to help all the people, I'll tell you what, I got a big mouth and I will yell from the rooftops to tell everyone in Minnesota, we're getting blocked. And here's what it's going to help. We're just like the president does every single day. He gets blocked and we know about it.
We've got to run because Ted has a pressing engagement.
Okay,
We're trying to get him to Europe.
right on. I got you. All right.
We got a
Thanks
big
for having
conference
me on.
tomorrow with the Iranians, and
Right
I'll be
on.
in touch with you though. I want to come and help you.
Guys, we're in no rush. I can keep this thing going from the car. We don't want to rush. This is a good discussion.
No.
No.
Please
We
don't
can
end this
get
because
back
of me.
on, Ted. We got time. We know we've got the greatest mayor in history, and
Well, we got to figure out how to help them now practically, Ted,
Right
you
on.
and I, all right?
right. You got.
We can't, we got to win this.
We
This
gotta
would be
win this.
revolutionary, I'm telling you.
They-
This would be
Absolutely.
revolutionary.
And remember,
Also,
that
just think, he'd be the contrast to socialist government. On the one hand, you got the Democrats doing all this socialist craziness, and on the other hand, you have him doing free market, sensible things. You know who's going to win.
right.
I mean,
Yep.
we've
Right,
only
and
had this
even
battle
Trump,
100 times, and we win every time.
Right on.
So
Right there.
this will be fabulous.
Yep.
We got
And-
plenty of
Trump
time.
put over his
And
business-
everyone,
his
and then the
business
media was
background.
saying, "Well, Mike, Amy Klobuchar has a 15-point lead over everybody." I'm going, well, there's two things there. One is that poll was done 5 months ago, and number two, the Donald Trump was down 18 on August 15, 2016, 18 points to Hillary.
I remember.
It was the day I met him, and you and I
I never believed it though.
that was down 18 points, and he made a statement, "I'll be in first place by Labor Day," and he was in first place by Labor Day.
Well, what enthusiasm, man.
Right on.
Love you. And this is great for Minnesota and great for the country. God bless you.
Thank you, Mayor. God bless
We'll do everything we can to get him elected. That would be great for the country. As I said, what a great contrast with the socialist maniacs who hate America. That man's enthusiasm will carry the day in the election and as governor. Plus, it's backed by a very, very smart, very successful man. I'm sorry about the technical difficulties. We'll make sure we got it all patched up for tomorrow night. And remember, pray for the people of Israel. Pray for the people of Iran. Please pray for the people of Ukraine too. They're right at the point where they can push Putin back. And the things we didn't get to cover, we'll cover tomorrow, because I wanted to tell you about this abortion case that makes me sick. It just makes me sick. But we'll cover it. We'll cover it tomorrow. And some of the other good news about our economy. How about Jamie Dimon saying it's never been any better than this? Never been any better. The economy's never been any better. So stop all this craziness just because you hate Trump, and let people figure out what's going on so they can take advantage of it. So God bless you. We'll see you tomorrow night from Rome. And we'll talk a little about Rome, get some nice pictures.
I was gonna
God
say,
bless
Mayor, we have no
America.
pictures. We got no pictures of Rome. You got to
We're
send
going to
us
get
some.
them. We'll get them. God bless America.
It's our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind
and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, we're able to analyze. We are